Hello, Algebra 1 students. For Mr. Fry, I'm looking at this writing function rules worksheet, and it's not due until the 7th, Monday, but in case you're working on it this weekend, I wanted to get this out to you. So I'm going to go over the odd ones. If you're working on the even ones on your own, then go ahead and try them. Try to develop an equation, a function rule, and then if you make a mistake, no worry about it. As long as you learn from it, you're making progress. So writing function rules. For number one, a team of divers assembles at an elevation of negative 10 feet relative to the surface of the water. Then the team dives at a rate of 50 feet per minute going down, negative. Write a rule that represents the team's depth d as a function of time t. What is the team's depth after 3 minutes? Well, the function rule is going to be this. Okay, so we're already starting at a negative 10 for our underneath the surface. And then they're going to go down 50 feet for every minute, times every minute. Now all of this is going to equal the depth. So I plug in 3 for my t, time, and then I figure out negative 50 times 3 is negative 160, and negative 160 minus 10 gives you a negative 160 feet. This is 150 minus 10, so 160. So that would equal your D, your depth. So that's number one. Try 2 on your own, like I said, and number 3, and you could pause this as needed. Number 3, a new book is published. It will have 24 pages of introduction. Then it will have C 12-page chapters and 48 more pages at the end. Write a rule that represents the total number of pages P in the book as a function of the number of chapters. And suppose the book had 25 chapters, how many pages will the book have? So here we go. I'm going to have 24 at the beginning, plus 12 chapters or 12 pages per chapter for each chapter, however many chapters there are. So you'd enter a number there. If it was just 1, it would just be 1 times 12, so it would be just 12 pages. That makes sense, right? And then you have 48 more pages at the end. So all I did was I plugged in 25, and so 24 plus 12 times 25 plus 48 gives you 372. All right, going on to number 5. Try number 4 on your own. Number 5, there's a few things going on here with number 5. You go to dinner and decide to leave a 15% tip for the server, and you had $55 when you entered the restaurant. So first, make a table showing how much money you would have left after buying a meal that costs $15, $21, $24, and $30. So taking a look at this, this would be, you start with your 55 and you subtract the tip. The tip is going to be 15% of whatever the meal costs. Plus you have to subtract the amount of the meal. So here's the tip, here's the amount of the meal, right? So you just plug in these different values to make this chart. For the $15, your X is going to be the cost of the meal, and then the Y is going to be what's left after the tip and after subtracting it from your $55 dollars. So what I did was on your calculator, if you want to take a look at how you could set this up so you don't have to do 4 different problems, you could just use the back button. I used 55 minus 0.15, and then in parentheses I put the X value. So the first X value is 15 minus the cost of the meal, which is 15. This is your tip. This is the actual cost of the meal. Then I hit equals. And I got 37.35. That's how I got that 37.35, okay? Now all I have to do, so I don't have to type all that in, save you a little time, use the back button and change that 15 to, what is it, 21. So a $21 meal. And you have to change it here too, $21 meal, hit equals, and you get 30.85. Keep using that back button and you'll get, your 24 and how much you have left after spending, the $30 meal. says then to write a function rule for the amount of money M you would have left if the meal costs C dollars before the tip. So just forget about the tip. So the meal is going to cost how much money you would have left after the meal costs C. So 55 just minus C. So that's pretty simple. You get rid of the whole tip thing. And so it'd just be the meal would equal 55 minus the cost of the meal. What I did here is I just substituted and moved this around a little bit so you could see it more in slope-intercept form, because in C, you're asked to graph the function rule. So, your C is actually your X value, your M is actually your Y value. C is the input. You're going to input the amount of each meal, and then Y is going to be the output, what is left over. So, this actually, is a negative slope, so it's going to be going down, and I just made this little graph, and I just counted by fives, 5, 10, 15, 20, all the way up to 55 for my Y, and then I do 5, 10, 15, 20, all the way to 55 for my X values. And what you're going to find is that when X equals 0, Y equals 55, okay? That's my Y-intercept, by the way. Okay, and when Y equaled 0, then I could figure out, then I get my X over here on this side, X is going to equal 55. So you'd bring this X over here, so it would be a positive, so it would be positive X equals 55. And so you could, put that, those are just going to be your intercepts, your X and Y intercept, which I think you'll talk about later, or maybe you've talked about it already, I don't know. But in general, you could just look at this. The slope is -1. So think about it. It's going to be down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1, down, until you get to 55 on your X coordinate too, and it's going to cross there. So you have, this 55 and 55. That could be your graph that you could put on your paper and send that into Mr. Fry. Try 6 on your own. Hopefully this helps, and have a good weekend.